I can see everything. Oh God, it's out.
So y'all know it's not a miss.
Thank you, miss. Damn. So that's cool. It's alive. Boy, look at that camber. Woo. It's gotta be like 15 degrees. Can't believe I used to run almost that much camber on purpose. Wheels not on, that's why it's like that. What's going on, guys? I have not posted a video in about 3 weeks now. That was not on purpose. I filmed some stuff last weekend. Didn't work. I had to scrap that video. Filmed stuff the weekend before that. Wasn't really working, so I had to scrap that video. So I just, you know, kind of ran on there with the holes, and that'll be actually set in place. So anyways, enough of that. Let's go to Ebony. All right, guys, let's go ahead and slide up under the car. Taking your diff out is actually not too difficult. Let me flip this camera around. The only thing you're going to be really removing are these axle bolts, which is there's 6 on each side, so you can do 3 at a time, rotate it, and do the other 3. So right now e-brake is up because when I loosen those, I don't want this to move. And you're going to have 1 bolt up here, don't remember the size, 1 on that side, and the 1 on the very front. There are spider webs everywhere under here. That goes to show how long I've been since I drove this damn car. But and then you're gonna want to, you don't have to remove your sway bar, but disconnect it so you can actually move your sway bar out of the way, because you cannot get a socket in here with your sway bar in the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that first, or we can do axles first, it don't matter, but I guess we'll do that first. I don't know what these are. I can't remember. It's been so long. All right, for your sway bars, it's just 2 13 bolts on each side. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that for that one. I think that one's harder to get to, so I'll use a socket on that side and a wrench on this side. Or you can do double sockets if that's your thing. And we're just gonna somehow line that up. I'd be in better position if my camera wasn't in my way. It's literally in my way. I would be laying right where my camera is, so you guys are welcome for that. Ow, fucking hell. Why am I using manual tools? I keep forgetting. Why do I do this to myself? Time for my army man crawl to get to the other side. One of these days, guys, I'm gonna have a lift in my garage. Probably move to another house by then, but remember this day. I said I'm gonna get a lift for my garage so I can stop being on my chest and back. I'm too old for this. All right, there you go. Now the sway bar is loose on both sides, so that comes all the way up and gives you plenty of room to put your socket in there and wrench those 2 out. Also, while we're under here, you can go ahead and grab your speed sensor. It's just a little cord that stays on the car. Do not pull your diff out with that. You'll rip that and you won't know how fast you're going ever until you replace it. So now time to get these axle bolts out of here. A swivel is recommended but not necessary, but it's definitely easier with the swivel because the area is pretty tight. Get to get on there. Okay, you want to play games. Wish I want to do that because I'm on camera right now. Any other time, it goes straight on. There we go. And then you can put your socket back on there and crank it loose. Be very careful. They are. Why my battery just randomly fall out? What the hell? What I was trying to say is be very careful, since they are E-Torques, they are very easy to strip. So make sure it's on there nice and tight all the way as far as it can go. And if you have to push on this boot to get it on there, you can. So yes, you can get 3 or 4 at a time, and you'll loosen the e-brake, rotate the wheels, and do the others. 3 so far. Now let's see what's going on with this one. Yeah, that one's a little stripped. All right, so we're probably going to have to use a gotcha, bitch. There we go. Thought you were gonna get away, huh? Can't play with me. Yes. So hammer, like I said, make sure it's tight and it won't strip. Yeah, that was beat to hell. I didn't do that. Well, maybe I did. I don't know. It's been 10 years. Okay, so I just did 4 on that side. Now I gotta do the other side, like a math problem. What do you do one side? You gotta do the other. And I'm gonna try to take 3 or 4 out and then drop the e-brake and then rotate it, put the e-brake back up, and then get the other 2 on each side out. And then, yeah, y'all know what to do, so I don't have to bring y'all along for that. Let me just do this real quick. All right, I got out what I need. I got 4 and 4 on the other side, and I just dropped the e-brake so I can just turn the wheel. And there's the bottom 2, and the other 2 should be about the same area. So there, now I can definitely reach the last ones, no problem. Now I gotta put the e-brake back up. Not gonna lie, a couple of these were a little bit tighter than they should be. So I had to pull out the big boy. There we go. I don't always recommend using impact, but you know, sometimes it's so much better. But there is a chance you can always strip something crazy if you're using an impact. So you gotta be very, very careful. All right, finally got it off after some finagling. So we'll go rinse and repeat the other side, and then we'll start on the backs and the fronts. And then we'll have to slide this thing out on our chest. Boom. Axles are off. Fun fact, I learned how to change axles in a gas station parking lot. So on my way home from work, got off the exit, went on the main road right down the street from my house, floored it, banged in a second, heard a clash of everything in the world, and my car wouldn't accelerate anymore. I thought it was transmission at first, and then, but cruised it, just coasted to the gas station, was right there, and got under there, found out it was an axle. So got an axle from a friend, went back to the gas station, and changed it right there in the parking lot. I got all my axle nuts. Gonna clean them up. Some of them were really hard to put the socket onto because they were so packed with dirt and grease and grime. So definitely gonna clean them up. I might just buy new ones. They're not that expensive, and the new ones are gonna be under a lot of abuse, and these, you know, have, I don't know, 300,000 miles on them, so probably just buy new ones. But save them just in case I do snap, you know, axles. Sometimes people will just snap the axle bolts, or they'll come straight out of the thing and just kind of strip out, and then they just replace the bolt and they're good. So I'll keep the bolts just in case, or just in case any friends need them. I got axle bolts. I got y'all. All right, and back under the car, we're gonna do these rear ears and then the front. This is a 18. We're just gonna break that loose. I'm gonna get my jack because I want to hold this in place. I'm not ready because I know once I drop that, it's gonna pretty much try to fall out the front, and I don't want it to tear the bushing in the front. So, all right. I just got the other side of the rear out. Now it's time for this front. This front is a 16, and I don't know if that's OEM size. I actually have a different bolt in here than everybody else. I'll explain when I get the diff out and show you why. It's my little secret because I love to break diff bolts. Actually, before I pull this diff bolt out, I'm gonna leave it in right now and show you exactly why my bolt is different. Now, the OEM bolt, I don't remember the exact size or length or whatever, but I basically, years ago, I measured up the length of it and I bought longer ones. I bought longer bolts to go all the way through the back of the bolt. I broke like 4 diff bolts. And when you do, normally you have to pull the diff out and you have to drill it and get the bolt out. I have a longer diff bolt, so whenever I break, let me fix my light. So whenever I break a diff bolt, it's actually really easy for me to change because the bolt goes all the way through the back of the diff. So if I break this bolt, then I can actually just grab the back of the bolt with pliers and just twist it out, and then I get to swap a new one in there. I actually did that in Savannah. I don't know if you guys remember the SOO experience or whatever it's called. I don't remember what it's called, but I went there to Savannah and my diff bolt broke as soon as I got there, and I swapped it out in like 5 minutes. So that's my little diff secret I've been using and plan on using that in the future. So my diff bolt is longer than OEM. It's my little diff bolt secret to y'all. Our diff is completely loose, so now it's time to drop this jack. I have to drop this probably on my chest. I don't remember. It comes out this way, not obviously not from the front. Ain't enough room, so it's definitely gonna have to come out that way. So, oh. Remember your sway bars in the way too. That's kind of. And now the wood blocks are in the way. I can see everything. Oh God, it's out. Yeah, so it's out now. A little bit more aggressive than I planned. But there you go. This thing is filthy. Jesus Christ. There we go, a nice slow 391 diff. Clean that off. Look at that one quick spray. Didn't even know that was stamped on it. Jesus. 391S. S stands for LSD. If you ever want to know what the S stands for. If you do see an S, that's what it stands for. There's also a tag right here in the back. It's also very hard to read. Most people write it. But that should say the same thing. It definitely was LSD. I can definitely confirm that. Alright, this is a whole lot more presentable now. It's I think it's good enough for him. He'll probably clean it up some more. He has to swap these bushings out probably, because I'm going to do the same. But he wants a 391 because he's building a drift car. I want a 338 because I'm doing a turbo car. And I got that shit all over my damn car. Motherfucker. Alright, well the diff is ready to go. Keep that to the side. I'm gonna go ahead and swap with him, and I gotta wash my car because now it's extremely dirty and it's starting to get dark, so I gotta hurry up. So I'm gonna meet up with him later this week. We'll swap diffs. I'll bring my diff back, the 338. We'll swap the fluids on it, put some brand new fluids in there, put it back in the car, and then I can actually put my drive shaft back in the car too, because my drive shaft is still sitting over there. Haven't put it on because I knew I was gonna swap my diff anyways, and there was no point. So after that, then drivetrain will be done. So that'd be a good step right there, and then finish engine stuff and hopefully be on the street soon. But I mean, we'll see. What's going on, guys? All right, the diff is finally here. The 338 is here. I filmed that first half of the video a really long time ago, probably like over a month at least. Had a lot of miscommunications and conflicting schedules, but eventually we got it, and the diff is right here. So the diff is here. I don't even remember what I talked about in the first half of the video. As of like right now in my head, probably something about this car being broken, because that car is always broken. So I'm probably not wrong on that. Anyways, yes, the diff is here. We're gonna clean up the diff a little bit before we put it back in. I also have
brand new bolts for the drive shaft, and we're gonna be putting the drive shaft in today too. So the drive line will be almost completely done. I'm having a little bit of problem with my slave cylinder. The first one I didn't mount it up straight, and then when I pushed the pedal, it pushed it through, and I put another slave cylinder on there, but now it won't bleed into the cylinder for some reason. Like the line is like dry. There's definitely fluid in there, but I don't know what's going on. So I need maybe a hydraulic pump or something. I'll figure that out later, but not doing that today. Gonna clean up the diff. Now I've already sprayed the diff, brushed it off a little bit. I didn't get it perfectly clean, like spotless, because I mean, it's a diff. You're not even gonna see it. It's gonna be under the car. And after you drive it for like 3 days, it's gonna look just like it did before you cleaned it. So I didn't really bother too much. I just wanted to clean enough so I can touch it and not get stuff all over my hands. So we're at that point. And I've already done the hardest part about these bushings. I've already removed the bushings. And of course, if you ever had to remove those before, it's not fun. Now there's 2 ways to do it. One way is to burn it. You know, it is rubber. The original ones are rubber. You burn them and they melt, and then you can push them out easier. But I didn't want to set anything on fire. I'm not good with that stuff. Plus I did it last night in my garage. Definitely wasn't trying to set my garage on fire. So I decided to do it a different way, which also works pretty well. Start off with the drill, start drilling in the rubber is going around in circles, and then you upgrade sizes and drill bits and stuff, and then you start, you know, getting as much rubber as you can. And then I ended up using a saw. If I had a sawzall, that would have been perfect, but I just used a saw, just kind of sawed all the rubber apart, and then I just basically just separated the middle part from the outside ring. Then when I got to the outside ring, I wasn't done yet. I took a small flathead, put it right in the crevice, and beat on it with a hammer. Don't beat too hard because you can actually crack your casing, because the casing actually is aluminum. But after beating on it for a little while, then I was actually managed to mangle it enough to where it wasn't holding the pressure, and then it just kind of came out. And like a multiplication problem, what you do to one side, you gotta do the other. So I went ahead and did both sides. Both sides are clean. Even sanded them down a little bit so there's no like rough edges or anything. So be putting some Condor Speed Shop bushings in there. They're actually in the freezer right now because science reasons, when they're freezing, they shrink and they're easy to put in. And then I also got some lithium grease I'm gonna put on there to make them slide in a little bit easier. But that should be good. Alright guys, the diff bushings are straight out of the freezer. They don't even feel cold as it is out here right now. It's winter time. So they feel like the same temperature as I am outside. But I'm gonna go ahead and dab a little bit of lithium grease in there. Do it in the holes. And then put a little bit on the outside edges too. Not too much. You don't have to really like coat it. I mean, you don't want it to come out. You want it to stay in there, but you want it to be easy to go in there too. So just a little bit. A lot of people use white because it's cleaner. There is no difference. I actually had to look it up last night because I see a lot of people use white lithium grease. I was like, why does everybody use white? What's wrong with the other colors? And yeah, people just said white just looks cleaner. I could agree with, because this looks like a mess right now. But that's okay. Now we're just going to line it up. And gonna hammer it. Like I said, don't hammer too hard because you can break this casing right here. My hands are dirty. Hold on. Make sure you're doing with the ridges out. Ridges on the outside. Your bolt goes that way, so make sure your ridges are on the outside. And just gonna hammer it in there. Alright. Jesus. Alright, we are in there. Flush on the ridge, flush on the outside. It's one down, one to go. Like I said, I know you'll be tempted to whack the dog shit out of it, but don't do that because you can break the ears. You can actually crack the ears, so don't hit it like you're trying to win a prize at a carnival. You gotta replace that. All right, I'm gonna whack this other one in there real quick, and then we'll do diff fluid. All right, number 2 is in. I actually used a tad more grease than the first time, and it went in like 6 hits. So I gotta pick the diff back up. I mean, this thing's so light. Warrior car. I sound like a little bitch. Also, I don't know if I mentioned, these are all Condor Speed Shop bushings. Everything is from Condor Speed Shop. And they also have a kit where you can get a 14 millimeter diff bolt. Stock is 12. They break a lot. You already know that. And they come with a 14 millimeter kit that's actually upgraded. And it comes with a bushing that also fits the 14 millimeter bolt too, since a 14 millimeter bolt won't go through a stock bushing. Normally, you would have to drill out this front bushing bolt right here, but it was actually drilled out already. So that it actually bummed me out because I actually bought a drill. Now I have a drill, but I don't have a drill of this caliper. And I actually bought this from Harbor Freight, and I was so excited to use it. Got the drill bit and everything. I ordered everything in advance because I knew I was going to do the 14 millimeter bolt, and now I can't even use it. Look how beautiful this thing is. This thing looks so aggressive. And I turned it on one day. This thing is so loud. Now, unfortunately, which I guess isn't a bad thing, this diff has already been drilled out for the 14 millimeter bolt, so they were already running one. So, but I do have to clean the threads up a little bit because they're kind of flat in there. But I do have a tap. It's an M14 1.5 tap. You need an M14 1.5 tap and a 12.5 millimeter drill bolt or drill bit. And I got it from Amazon. Got into the combo, so I will clean up the threads with my tap. And we should be good on that. So, but damn, really wanted to do that. So again, let's just pretend we were drilling it out and we just line it up as straight as we could and go straight down. Yay! Like I said, I do have to tap it, so I'll at least do that. And if you never used a tap before, it's basically like a socket. And you find a tap holder, whatever it's called. I think it's a tap socket, I think that's what it's called. And just make sure it lines up perfectly with your bolt, which it should. And you just basically just drill it in there by hand. Recommended by hand. And bolts will screw right in. Perfect. Of course, you have a bushing in there, so it won't go all the way through. It'll go about to here. There we go. So that's done. Now, another thing I did last night after a few beers, I had this genius idea of taking an angle grinder and actually grinding a slot in here. If I do manage to break this bolt, instead of dropping the diff and trying to drill it out, I just take a flathead and I can slide it right in that slot and I can just twist it out. That's like the best thing in the world. I don't know where that idea just popped up in my head. I'm like, I don't want to break this, and if I do, I don't want to be a pain in the ass. So it just popped up in my head, and there we go. So that's cool. All right, guys, time to get messy. Time for diff fluid. This is gonna be pretty simple, especially since it's out of the car. You're gonna need a pump, a little fluid pump. You get that from AutoZone, Amazon, Harbor Freight, whatever. It's only like $10, I think. It's not expensive, but very necessary. Then when it comes to fluid, this is a debate. You can do your own research, whatever you want to do. People debate this all day long. People seem to lean more to one side nowadays in current times, but stock fluid is 7590. That's the stock OEM fluid, 7590. Whether you use Redline or Castro, whatever diff fluids they make, I don't know, but I got mine from Liquid Moly. Liquid Moly sent me this. Thank you, Liquid Moly. They also sent me the oil change for Ebony. And so they are supplying all the fluids for Ebony. I also got automatic transmission fluid for my power steering and all that stuff. So, but yes, this is 7590. This is the stock fluid recommended. This is 75140. Now, if you search forums, you see a lot of guys that do the aggressive driving and build track cars and turbo cars. A lot of people do the 140 and diff cars too. A lot of people do 140. They say it's a lot better for handling abuse. Since I know this car will be abused, I'm going to go with the 140 this time, and we'll see how it works. If I don't like it, then I always got 90. But they did send me both, so I have 90, 140, or 75, 90, and 75, 140. This is your fill plug. This is your drain plug. Before you remove your drain plug, make sure you can remove your fill plug. Because say you remove this, you drain all your fluid out, you want to go put your fluid back in there, and then all of a sudden your fill plug is either stripped, you break a tool, is rusted, and now you're stuck with the diff with no fluid and no way to put it back in there. So make sure you release your fill plug first. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Your fill plug is a 14. I also bought new bolts for that. Not that I needed them, but well, I've been going buck wild on Beamer World. Shout out to Beamer World for having a whole bunch of OEM bolts and stuff, because every time I look and I can't find a bolt, I go straight to Beamer World and Real OEM. Go to Real OEM, find all the part numbers, and just copy paste Beamer World. They got it. This is a 14 millimeter Allen bolt. This is a big boy. Probably don't have this in a regular toolbox. We have to go buy this separate. Fits in there snug. Now, you see how far it sticks out? Just that. And that is a half, so then you have to put a half socket on there. You most likely don't have that much room under the car. Like I said, this is easy for me because it's outside of the car. If you need to do it inside the car, you're probably not going to have that much room because the gas tank is going to be very, very close. So it's going to be very hard to either slide this in there into position. I think between sedans and coupes, or maybe years, some of them the gas tank is a little bit further back and you can do it. But if you can't, don't fear it. Don't pull your diff out. I got a solution for you right here. This is a 14. Put a 14 in there. Take a 14 wrench, something bigger than this, because this doesn't have a lot of leverage. This is a small one. But you take a 14 in there, and you put it on there. Like I said, more leverage with the bigger wrench. I got it. And there you go. So if you're in a position where your socket doesn't fit, use a 14 on your 14, and you can break it loose that way. Drain plug won't have that problem. It's further down, away from the gas tank. So now that I got that loose, I know I can drop the other one loose. I'm gonna cheat though. I'm gonna use the impact. I ain't under the car. Another suggestion. If you're gonna do this, go drive your car for a little while. That way the fluid is warm, so it actually like flows out a little bit faster than that, because this is gonna take all day. First of all, I don't even know if it has fluid in it, to be completely honest. I mean, it doesn't really look like it does, so they might have drained the fluid before I got it, which I knew, which is fine, because I was gonna put fluid in there anyways. But that is gonna take forever if there is a bunch of fluid in there. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there's definitely fluid in there. Now, I am leaning it right now to help it drain, but when you go to fill it, don't just lean it forward and try to pour it in there, because you're going to overfill it. If you overfill it, you're going to cause problems. So you do have to fill it with it level, just as if it was sitting in a car. So, for example, I will put the pump in there. I would pump it, and as soon as it starts to fall out, then I know it's in there. So I'm going to fill it on the table just as if, and it'd be flat, just like it was sitting in a car. All right, guys, well, we are drained now. No more fluid in there. I'm just looking at straight gears, so we are ready to fill it back up. I'm gonna replace it with the new one. This is just flat, and this one has like a rubber O-ring on it, so I guess it's an upgrade. So yeah. Is it childproof? There we go. All right, it's been drifting for a little while now, and it's starting to slow down. So I think it's a good spot. So I think we are level. look real level in there. So go ahead and zip that back on and call it a day. Bam. Diff is done. Ready to go back in the car. I'm not going to show you me putting it back in the car. It's just reverse of what I already did. So I still meet you under there though. I got to change my hoodie though. I'm not doing it in the blue hoodie. Gonna get under the car. Gotta get dirty now. As if I wasn't dirty with grease already. That was tough. The diff is back in. I forgot how hard it is to put a diff back in a car on your back. Taking it out was hard, but at least when you take it out, you let it fall. When you're pushing it back in, you got to actually push it up there. That was pretty tough. Trying to push. I don't know how much a diff weighs, but Jesus, it's hard pushing it from here. So anyways, I had to put glasses on because when I was doing that and the axles, I had dirt flying all over my face. So thank you for that, because I'm pretty sure I ate some dirt. Fell in my mouth. I just swallowed. I couldn't move. Diff is back in. For the front bushing, the Condor Speed Shop bushing, it's the same way you put it in the ears. You put some grease on it, hammer it in there. A little bit harder when you're under there, especially on your back trying to hammer. You don't have a lot of room, so it took me some time, but it's in there. Axle bolts are back on there. I think I said I was going to buy some new axle bolts, but I didn't realize OEM axle bolts are so expensive. So that didn't happen. There are upgraded ones. I haven't done enough research, otherwise I would have just bought them. But I know some people use like ones that are like Allen bolts and they're stronger or something like that, but I don't know who makes them, who makes the best ones, and who had, success with them, because, just because it is an upgrade doesn't mean it's always better. If that makes sense in my head. I don't know, but I didn't do enough research, so I'm just going to use my stock axle bolts because I'm most likely going to break one of these axles anyways. So when I break an axle, then when I go to replace the axle, I'll get 2 brand new axles and with a different axle bolt setup and maybe axle spacers if I need them. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Right now, stock axles back in there. We'll see how long they last. And I know another thing you guys are thinking while you're under there doing diff and everything, you should be doing subframe. I know, I should. But like I just said, doing a diff on my back is so hard. There's no way I can do a subframe on my back. I probably could if I really, really wanted to. I don't want to right now. And plus, this chassis has 300,000 miles on it. It most likely needs to be reinforced. So I'm going to wait, get the car running, and we'll go to a place with a lift and somebody with a welder, and I can do reinforcement plates, do the subframe bushings and all that stuff. And then after that, we'll be good to go completely on the whole bottom and subframe and diff and all that stuff. But right now, diff axles are good. About to put the drive shaft in, and that's gonna be it for this video. And yeah, let's do that. Shouldn't take long. Got brand new bolts. Let's get to it. All right, got the drive shaft. Got brand new bolts and center support bearing. Usually it's a perfect time to change it, but I don't have one. I forgot, but this one seems kind of good. So I don't see any like weird cracks or anything. It's just dirty. That's pretty much it, but I think it's good. So we're just gonna use it for now. If I gotta change it later, then I gotta change it later. But today it's going in. And usually when a drive shaft is separated, people usually mark it like with a marker so they can put it back in the same spline. So I don't see any marks, so hopefully it doesn't vibrate. I don't know. Start off with this side. I don't think there's any like real secrets. Just put it in place. This side has 4 bolts. And put it in there with 4 bolts. For these, you would use wrenches. These are 17s. I highly recommend some ratcheting wrenches. But I'm not going to tighten it yet because I have to put everything else first, put everything in order, and then put it in gear so this doesn't spin. Because right now, if I try to tighten it, it's just going to spin. So that's not going to do me any good. So now we'll work our way down. All right, so coming down the line, this is where the center support bearing goes and those little knobs right there. And then guibo. Now you're going to do the guibo one first.
Just kind of line it up and hit these opposite of the 3 bolts that are in there for the transmission. And when those are tight, then you can push that up and it will be all together. So let's do those first. All right, so that part of the drive shaft is tight, the one that's on the Guibo and the transmission. Now I just push this up. It should go dead center because that one on the back is already in place, just not tight. But I'm gonna tighten this, and right now it's not in gear, so that's still twist. But the transmission's right here. I can just push the car in gear. There, now it's in gear. And now I can go tighten the ones in the back, and we are done. So let me go ahead and tighten these and be with you in a second. Also, this was a Christmas present. I got a flex head and extendable sockets. That way, if you need some more torque, you can extend it out. And then use flex head so you can get better angles, and really useful. So I can go like all the way over here and flex it, and then I can twist all the way back. Now if it was flat, it would just hit that. So that is so helpful. Woo. I got all that torque. I think I'm in third. First gear be a whole lot better, but I think we're good. We're done, and I'm glad because I am so tired. That was a lot. Whew. All right, guys, we are done. That was probably a long video. Sorry if it's long. A lot of you guys like the long stuff, though. I don't do the long videos on purpose. If I start a video and I say what the goal of that video is, I don't stop till it's done. So sometimes if it's a 20-minute video, sometimes 30-minute video, sometimes 45-minute video. Sorry, I have a goal and I want to finish that goal. So this goal is done. Drivetrain is fully done now. Like I said, the only problem I have is with my clutch slave cylinder. You see it hanging over there because I haven't quite figured it out yet. It will not bleed for some reason. Like, I think my other ruined one is over there somewhere, but I don't feel like getting it. But for whatever reason, it won't bleed. I wish it would. Then I know I'd be completely done under this car, and I can actually take it off the jack stands, and I feel like I'm getting somewhere. But that's the only thing I got to tackle. Probably do that off camera, figure that out later. But other than that, drivetrain is done. 338 is in. Drive shaft is in. Axles are in or on. And that will do it for this video. So, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one. Hope you learned something. Deuces.